Good morning, YouTube. Well, I went to a movie last night. So I went to see the story written by James Baldwin, I Am Not Your Negro. And I believe that he had a little more colorful language, the original language that I've seen clips of. Anyway, I went to see this movie. Okay, the movie about, you know, I had mixed feelings because for me, first of all, James Baldwin was before my time. So I wasn't aware of him when he was writing. I was a child. But I wanted, one of my passions is writing, so I wanted to see this person who managed to become a very very popular gay black writer, in the 50s, 60s, in the 50s, 60s, when it wasn't happening. They didn't get out like that. So I was going there expecting. I wanted to get inspired by him as far as his writing career. Uh, I was curious about that part of his life, and the other part of his life that I was curious about was the gay aspect. Now in this movie, I could be off by one, but they mentioned that he was homosexual one time in the entire movie, 90 minutes or 2 hours. One time they mentioned that. So the things that I was looking forward to hearing about, and what was it like to being a gay black man, uh, in the 50s. I thought it would be very interesting. What was it like to be a gay black writer in the 50s, 60s? I thought that would be very interesting. Those were not the subjects. This is not a review of that movie. It's about it, in fact. So don't don't uh, don't think I'm trying to do that. But this, from what I can tell, is it was a book proposal. He was going to write a story. This was never a finished project. From what I remember of the credits, or the beginning of the movie, they were saying that this was based on 30 pages of notes that he was taking for this book proposal. Book proposals, when you submit, you want your publishers to pay you up front for a project so that you can complete the project. So that never got completed, but it was based on the lives of. He wanted to do a book or a story on Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers, so civil rights icons. So this was not necessarily about his writing. They didn't show any of the books he did. That they didn't even do any particular any of his writings or reading from many of his writings. Mostly clips. Video wasn't a big thing in the 50s, 60s, so it wasn't. There's not a lot of film of him. They've taken the clips and it focuses on this project. Although they interject parts of modern since he's been dead too, like that Barack Obama appears in there, Donald Trump's voice appears in there as well. So anyway, I was feeling bad because I said, here I've seen this movie, this historical figure, someone I've always been curious about, but I'm not. Uh, I don't know a lot about, and I was looking forward to knowing more about him. So I came out knowing not much more than I knew already. And so this morning I said, well, let me go and talk about this movie because it's just come out. I do want to promote it. But in my view, I'm not going to review something that if I don't like it, I'm not going to go and just say other people's work. If it's not something that I enjoyed or I connected with, then I'm not going to go out there and just fake it, right? So I couldn't think of what aspect of the story. Not that it was a badly told story. It is a documentary. Also, they're not actors involved in this. Samuel L. Jackson does the voice of James Baldwin, and so there's footage from civil rights movement, things like that. Anyway, so I didn't know how to approach reviewing that movie. A lot of things, there's a lot of clips of lynching, real lynchings, that I always find very uncomfortable. See people dogged away, and the meanness and the evilness and all the things that went on in the 60s. It can be overwhelming for me. I'll tell you that very honestly, and it can be depressing for me to see the way black people were treated and some of the things that our people went through. But I got jumped on. I said, okay, well, if I ain't got nothing good to say, or I can't relate to the movie, then I'm going to not review it. That was my decision. Then I got on Facebook. So I got inspired by an unlikely source. All right, let me tell you what the article that made me change my mind. Okay, this is from past. Okay, here's the headline. Okay, Donnie Mcclurkin tells Christians to stop protesting Donald Trump. I'll just read you a paragraph here. He says, uh, we need to know what our vote really means and how to utilize it. Okay, but I don't want us, I'm quoting from Donnie Mcclurkin's article. Okay, but I don't want us to get caught up in this protest, the gospel singer and pastor of Perfecting Faith Church in Freeport, New York, said on syndicated radio show, Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell. You know, Erica Campbell is one of his friends. She's one of Mary. Okay, here's the quote. The protests do nothing but rile people up. It causes people anger to rise up, and it gives us false sense of involvement, said Mcclurkin. Okay, I'm not gonna get you guys can go see the whole article. It's called the Christian Post. I'm sure if you go online for Christian Post, you'll see what he says. But that kind of inspired me to maybe I did have something to say about this protest thing, and that is civil rights may make us some of us uncomfortable. Reliving that may make some of us uncomfortable. Certainly, lynching and the hatred uh, uh, that people had to fight against makes us uncomfortable. But what if those people in this time of this Baldwin project, what if they didn't protest? I mean, what would Martin Luther King was not civil rights. He was a leader of a civil rights movement. He wasn't civil rights. There were thousands and thousands of people protesting. There was a 1,000,000-man march. There were thousands of people protesting for the things we take for granted now. Now, so what if nobody protested anything? What if we just went on at the level we were going at that time? What if Martin never came to the forefront? Malcolm, I'm not totally in line with a lot of the teachings of Malcolm X, especially not his early teachings. But that was a leader. That was a leader. He got people to speak up, and it was all about protests. And people were, I mean, they were treated savagely. I mean, with these water hoses and the way people were being beaten, women and children drugged. It was horrible. But what if they didn't do it? So I think what this article, this last thing that I just read, touched off for me is because I'm not a protester, because I'm not involved in that level, I'm not going to tell nobody else not to protest, not to fight for our rights. People, if that's your passion, if that's what you're called to do it. Please do it. What if Donald Trump goes through this whole presidency unchecked? What if there were no protests about this ban on Muslims? Because they were just the first victims. They were not going to be the last people. He was coming for the Mexicans next, and then somewhere down the line, we're going to fall in line too. But what if no one ever checked him about anything? He just was able to go in there and just do what he wanted. We'd be living in a nightmare in short order. He wouldn't need 8 years. 4 years is enough to do it. So it gave me a different take on what I saw last night. Different respect for it. Because those people, they were on the front lines. And a lot of things we take for granted, it is because it started in the 1960s, the civil rights movement. So I wanted to hear about it. James Baldwin was writing things like that. That wasn't his passion. He was a writer, but he was more passionate. His passion was civil rights. And thank God it was. So you have to honor that and respect that. So I do have something positive to say about James Baldwin's writings. I mean, that was a strong black man. I mean, he he was gay. I wish he would talk about gay, and maybe somebody else did a different kind of biography. They talk about the gay, but at that time in history, it wasn't about the gay. Nobody think about the gay, and just the fact that he was able to excel or to be heard in spite of the gay, phenomenal. So, movie goes into Martin's life. I wish they went a little more into the people, the subjects' lives, but it was just a proposal. A proposal is just something. He says 30 pages of notes. It would probably be trickled down to maybe a 10-page proposal to talk about. It just telling the publisher what they want to write about. So I went into that not knowing very much about Medgar Evers. I know about Martin and I know about Malcolm, but I didn't know about Medgar Evers, and I came out of it not knowing much about him. He was basically, I mentioned there were certain events they touched on when each person was killed. Now I can remember. I'm 58 years old. I can remember exactly what I was doing when I heard that Martin Luther King was killed. So, and he was 68. I was born in 58. So I was 10 years old and I was playing in my mother's front yard when I heard that. So even my 10-year-old mind knew something huge had happened. So anyway, those are just some thoughts. Go see this movie, particularly, just go see the movie. It's good history. It's not like I didn't like it. It's a documentary. So, I went in, I think I just went in there with the wrong expectations. Uh, yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of buzz about this movie. James Baldwin, very popular writer. There are a lot of the clips that they use uh, in this movie are already on YouTube. Because so I did have some knowledge of some of his teachings, writings, things like that, and I've determined this one book in particular that I want to get of his. And I want to start that process and trying to get to who their brother was. All right, so Pastor Donnie Mcclurkin, I don't agree with you, and also not only that, I don't agree with you that people shouldn't protest. Uh, what's going on with the wedding? Let me stop. Stop, Timothy.